Hi everyone, my name is Monique Santamaro and I'm here to start my first online class for you, Self-Publishing 101 for Beginners. So the reason I did this is I've been asked lately a lot about how I started writing and how I got to writing a bunch of scribble scrabble notes to actually publishing my first psychological thriller, 8 words, available on Amazon. It's there for Kindle Unlimited readers for free, Kindle readers for $3.99, and paperback for $9.99. So check that out. You know, writing my first book was such an absolute positive process and I had a blast doing it. I was really fortunate to take a lot of classes for free online or in person. To mention a few authors, Joyce Sweeney, Rochelle Weinstein, and Alessandra Torre have been helpful, and I have just continued to keep learning as much as possible. So when you're joining me today, if you have any questions while I am doing this video, just go ahead and reach out to me. I'm just gonna minimize these here, and you can go ahead and tell me any questions you have and I'll try to answer them live here. So one thing I'm not gonna be discussing today is marketing and actually how to write. That would take me a million years to do in the same video. So I will start making mini videos on that and putting it on my YouTube channel, which is under my name, Monique Santamaro. You can also check out my Facebook page, Monique Santamaro Author, the way you see it here on IG. So about last week sometime, I decided to do a video on steps 1 and 2 of the publishing process. So I'm gonna do a brief overview of that for you. Step 1 is essentially formulating your idea, doing your research. So I talked briefly about, you know, if you're gonna do a crime fiction novel, maybe something takes place in a courtroom, you're gonna need to do some research on laws, maybe the city that it's in, what laws are specific to that county, to that state, etc. If you're gonna do something medical, you're gonna need to obviously research things in the medical field, whatever you might be doing. If you're writing a thriller, a suspense, and someone's gonna die, if you're gonna explain how they're going to die, then you wanna do some research on that. That's when you get to the part that you learn that authors have a really weird search history on their computer. If anyone ever researches our search history on our computers, we're all going to jail, just so you know, the crazy things that we research. So again, ask me questions anytime that I am speaking and I will be happy to answer them as best I can. I am not an expert by any means, but I do take really good notes and I love taking classes. So I'm gonna share with you again all these steps. So in step 1, take a look at my video on YouTube for more details. You're going to formulate your idea. A lot of authors start with a what if question. What if 2 people were kidnapped in the same city, they weren't related, and they're found 11 years later, kind of like Mary Kubica's Local Woman Missing, really good book, by the way. And then during this time, when you're doing your research and you're formulating that idea, this is a great time to actually get your support group together. So for me, it was fellow writers like Jill Slaughter and others, but it was also my family, particularly my husband, Eric Santamaro, who I see just joined us. Hi, babe. And what I did is I really talked to these people about my ideas, if they were avid readers and if they were not avid readers, because it helped to understand what was coming to their mind, what questions they would have on these ideas. You know, you think the idea is great, but it's great to kind of go through that with someone else. So step 2 is before you write and you're doing your research, research your genre. So I wrote in the psychological thriller genre. You want to really understand what your readers' expectations are for your genre. Now, as I continue this video, I'm giving you advice from experts, not me, from experts. Can you go do your own thing completely and go rogue? Absolutely. For me, my approach to this video and my approach to self-publishing has been to listen to others that have been successful. That's how I operate my life. So you can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you the advice that tends to show a track for success. So when you're researching your genre, a great book to look at is Write to Market by Chris Fox. It's about 100 pages and it has a bunch of activities. And one of the activities that I did was to research my genre, psychological thrillers, and look through reviews and see what the reviews had in common. So you can see I did this little exercise here. And I looked at both positive and negative reviews and found out what my readers expected from psychological thrillers. Again, it's something that I go in more depth on my video. for steps 1 and 2 on YouTube, so you can take a look at that. But again, step 1, we're formulating our idea, we're doing our research on setting, things that are unique to our book, like laws, medical information, etc. Assuming you're writing fiction. If you're writing nonfiction, obviously you might have a lot more research. Even if you're doing a memoir, you tend to use, factual information and research studies now. So step 1, we formulated the idea, we did our research. Step 2, we looked at our genre and we looked at reviews. So that's just, again, a quick overview. So let's start in depth with step 3. Step 3, you are gonna start actually writing your book. So I recommend using something on the computer. Sometimes you have ideas come to you and you can quickly use the notes on your phone. If you're at a restaurant, scribble it on a napkin, I don't care. But basically when you go to write your book, you wanna do something. So I would recommend Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or one that a lot of people use is Scrivener. Scrivener is something that you can purchase different levels of it, but it basically organizes your chapters, and it has sort of, imagine like a table of contents in the left-hand side. So as you type, if you need to skip to chapter 3, you can easily click on it. It allows you to move around your document a lot. It's actually very user-friendly. Even if you're a first-time writer, you can definitely check out Scrivener. Hybrid Prime, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you. When you're writing, you're going to determine whether you are a plotter or a pantser. You could do either one. Every writer on planet Earth is one or the other, or a combination of the two. So what I mean by that is if you are a pantser, it is as it sounds. It's like fly by the seat of your pants, right? So when I wrote my first book, 8 Words, that's pretty much what I did. I started it as a memoir, so it seemed like I was writing a diary. I knew the story, obviously it's something I went through. I decided to change it into a fictional piece. So then later it, changed trajectory. But as I started, I just wrote, and I would think of things that I want to include in later chapters. I'd keep a piece of paper by my side, and I would write some notes as well. So if you are a pantser, you're flying by the seat of the pants, you're free writing, you might take notes here and there, do a little brief outline, but you're essentially just letting it flow. The other type of writer is a plotter. A plotter is someone who is, as it sounds, they're planning out their plot. You can do that by writing outlines. Recently, I interviewed Helene Kist. She's also on my YouTube channel, my interview with her. She is an intense plotter. She writes outlines that are up to 10,000 words, which in my genre, psychological thrillers, it's about 1/8 of a book, okay? About the average size of a book. So that's quite an extensive outline, but that keeps her writing really tight. The second time around, as I'm writing my book, His Prison, I'm hoping to release February 2022. I decided to be a plotter, so don't judge my handwriting, okay? But what I did is I planned my book on index cards. I've seen a couple of famous authors do this, and I thought it was a really smart idea. What I liked about this is as I came up with that idea, I would just write it on an index card, right? When I was ready to kind of map out the story on what flow I wanted it to have, Mitchell Ray K, thank you for joining, I put it out on a table and I could easily move it around so I could really visually see where my story was going and where I might want to move around index cards. Once I decided to do that and I decided on an order, I labeled them on the back by page number. So you see this one, or not page number, excuse me, just by order. So this was my 39 index card out of about 75. And what I liked about this method is the ease to move it around. I would write research on the back of some of them. So let me see if I can find one for you. Oh, here's a real special sloppy one. So here was my original note. And then when I went to do research and write factual information, I wrote it on the back. This also helps when you're writing because I might be sitting down with these in my laptop, writing out my story. I write all these, and now I know next time I get to my book, I'm on this index card. So this has actually been very helpful for me. Again, you can be a plotter or a pantser. It's whatever you want. It's whatever works for you. Some people say they're a combination of both, and they can be, but typically you're swaying to one side or the other. All right, so we're still on step 3, writing. We've either chosen Google Docs, Microsoft Word, Scrivener, or something else to document our writing. Number one thing I want to tell you about this, not only are you going to save it, every single day at the end of your writing day, or more than once, you are going to email that document to yourself. Gives you 2 things, obviously a backup, But number two, wherever you are, if you want to pull it up and start working on it, you can pull it up on your phone, your laptop, maybe if you're at work, and you can start working on it. But please email it to yourself. Don't trust an iCloud, a flash drive, anything like that. I would hate for you to lose your work. Email it, email it, email it. It's also kind of cool to see your progress as you go along. If you ever want to go to an older version of your draft, you can easily do that. All right, we talked about whether you're a plotter or a pantser. You're writing index card notes or you're just flying by the seat of your pants. You can do an outline. But as you're doing this, I want you to keep a word count in mind. Every genre has an expected word count. Again, you can write whatever you want, however long you want. Novels are generally over 40,000 words, or they're called short stories, novellas, etc. For my genre, for example, it's 80,000 words. Now, in this book, that's about 257 pages at this size book. Could I have written a psychological thriller that's 50,000 words or 150,000 words? Sure, I could have easily done that. But again, my idea is I want to follow as best as possible the success of other authors and what they're doing. So yeah, do your own thing if you want. For the purposes of my video, I'm telling you what I've learned. So as you're writing, you can look for your word count. It's usually at the bottom left of your screen, or you can go into one of the tool options at the top, and see how many words you've written so far. So for me, I knew I had to get to 80,000 words. I think I finished at about 82,000 or so. You can expect that once you do edits, several thousand words are going to be taken out, but you want to try to stick close to a certain number count. The reason for this and some of the other tips I'm giving you, other than I want to be successful like a successful author is also it's what readers expect. When a reader picks up a psychological thriller, they expect a lot of things, and I'm going to talk about that today. But one of the things they expect is a certain word count, all right? Sci-fi readers, for example, they're going to expect 110 to 150,000 words. If they just read my book size of 80,000 words and I make it sci-fi, they're going to be like, well, where's the rest? They're usually longer. There's a reason people are attracted to certain things. They are attracted to the same similar characteristics with a little bit differentiation. So I want my psychological thriller to be 80,000 words roughly. If you're in sci-fi, you want to be at 110, 115,000 words, but many of the sci-fi books go well beyond that. Historical fiction is 100,000 words. Romance is anywhere between 80 to 100,000 words. So again, word count is an important thing. It also gives you a good goal to meet. You'll know when you're halfway through the story, 3/4 through the story. And once you study how to write, you're going to learn expectations of what readers are supposed to have in the first 15 to 20% of the book, the 50% mark, the 75% mark, etc. It helps you understand how your story needs to flow. Sometimes I think I'm doing great and I'm like, oh my God, I'm already at 20,000 words, about a fourth through my book, and I haven't even discussed a really important thing that really needs to be in the beginning. So knowing your word count helps you set goals, helps you meet reader expectations, and really helps you keep track of where you need to start inserting some events, foreshadowing, inciting incidents, drama in your book. Word count's important. And lastly, in the writing process for step 3, take some classes. Go online. I recently took a free class by Alessandra Torri. She was amazing. She has been the best online class I've taken so far. I just joined her Inkers Con group, which is a set of 27 classes. That one's not free, but she offers free classes. I start seeing things on my Facebook and my Instagram pop up of free classes. Always educate yourself. If you don't like what the author's saying, then all right, you can toss it. But it's always great to get more and more ideas. And what you will start learning is there's a lot of patterns, and that's what I've learned, and that's why I'm giving you this class on self-publishing, to let you know through all these classes what I keep hearing over and over again. What I also did with the classes I took is I made this little folder here, and all my notes and everything I've received from a writing class I put in this. I was thinking soon of organizing it in a binder a little bit better, like under marketing, writing your first chapter, etc., etc. But right now I just have it in this folder. All right, so step 3, we're done with step 3. Step 1, we formulated our idea, we did research. Step 2, we researched our genre and we looked at reviews. And step 3, we actually are in the writing process. We understand our end goal, how many words we need, what we're going to be doing. Pantsing, we're just going to free write, we're gonna plot, we're gonna do outlines, index cards, whatever. You choose what works for you, and we're gonna take classes and educate ourselves. All right, now before I go to step 4, other things that help me other than free writing classes, and I'm gonna go through these quickly. I'm gonna make a separate video on my YouTube page for writing resources. In terms of books, the ones that help me the most, and I'm gonna go through quick so I don't bore you. I just mentioned this one earlier, Write to Market by Chris Fox. This is, again, how to write to your market. So I'm writing in psychological thriller. You might be a romance reader. Writer. How do you learn to write in a way that is going to appeal to readers of your genre? I want to know what they want, right? This is going to help you determine that. Do all the exercises. It's only 100 pages. Highlight, take notes. It's awesome. Character traits, Writer's Guide to Character Traits. This is by Linda Edelstein. She is a psychologist. This is a huge book. And this was recommended to me by one of my classes I took in person at Nova University in Broward County, Florida. And it just gives you every personality type. It has all these charts. Let me just give you kind of a typical view here. Charts and bullet points. So let's say I'm writing about a narcissist. I can look up in this book characteristics of a narcissist. It will give you all kinds of idea for dialogue and how to build tension and what things you really need to incorporate in your book to communicate an authentic and well-researched criteria for, let's say, a narcissist. And this just has everything, every type of character, and it gives you great ideas. Show Don't Tell by Sandra Girth is as it sounds. It explains how to write by showing and not telling. So rather than saying somebody is sad or mad, how to write better. It's the number one thing I heard as I was learning to write is show, don't tell. Launching to Market, again, by Chris Fox. So when you're ready to launch, again, I'll have another video on marketing, what you can do to make yourself successful. And that kind of goes hand in hand with Ads for Authors by Chris Fox. So this will help you learn, how do I do ads on Facebook? How do I do ads on Amazon? How can I market my book? And how can I do it for my genre and finding out what's best for me? And lastly, I'm halfway through Sandra Girth again, Write Great Beginnings. This is not just about the beginning of the book. This is a focus on the beginning, but I am getting so much out of this. I'm taking notes like crazy. It's giving me so many ideas as I'm reading and highlighting and taking my notes. I'm getting so many ideas of how to develop my characters and making sure that I'm tracking, like I said, my word count. Where do I need to put an inciting incident? Where do I need to put these cliffhangers? It's really, really helpful. All right, so we're done with step 3, writing it down. Step 4, editing. Wow, I learned so much about editing in my first book. I wasted so much time in the way that I edited my book. What I mean by that is once I printed my manuscript and I would read it, I would spend so much time checking for spelling, grammar, things like that. That's all fine and dandy, but you're going to pay someone to edit your book. You are not going to self-edit your book. In certain ways, yes, but please understand you need to pay for an editor. You could agree with me, disagree with me. Again, there's no way you're going to catch every single mistake. Neither is anyone else. You might publish with some mistakes. I know I have some in my book, missing random things, a period or something like that. But please know that you're going to need to hire an editor, which on average is going to cost you 3 to 10 cents per word. So remember, we talked about word count. I have 80,000 words for my genre. You're a sci-fi writer. You're looking at about 110, 115,000 words. You want to stay within that 3 to 10 cents range, roughly. So when you're editing your book, what I want you to focus on is plot, characterization, and the pacing. How is it moving along? Is it getting boring in certain parts? Do you need to add tension there? Do you need more dialogue? I learned in my first book, I would look and I'd have 3 pages with no dialogue. You need dialogue, okay? It cannot just be everything in the narrator's head for the most part in most genres. So you really want to make sure that you are editing your book for content, okay? When you go to hire an editor, there's a lot of editors. There's copy editors, line editors, developmental editors. So they basically build up. So your copy editor is going to look at basic things like your grammar and your punctuation. Your line editor is going to do a little bit more, looking at sentence structure, things like that. And then your developmental editor does everything, and they're looking at the content of your story. Does it flow? How's your plot, your characterization? Or if you're writing nonfiction, the standards for nonfiction, are you going through those well? And developmental editing was paramount to me in my book. So in editing, again, you're going to edit yourself, but you're going to focus on your plot, your characterization, and your pacing. Is this moving along? Is it keeping it interesting? And then when you pay an editor, you're going to pay between 3 to 10 cents a word, roughly. If you have more money to invest in this is where you want to spend the most money before launching a book if you have it. Some people pay a couple $1,000s regardless of genre to edit their book. If you have it, that's the number one thing you want to spend your money on. It's super helpful. All right, we're done editing our book and we send it to the editor. Now the editor sends it back. Usually it'll take at least a month for your edits to come back. During that time, you can work on learning your marketing strategies and setting up your offer page, etc. But again, I'll do another video on that. And then when you get your edits back from your editor, now you're going through and doing your final edits. You finally got there and you are making these last minute changes, making sure everything is tight and everything is perfect. So that is step 4. We have formulated our idea, we've researched our idea, we know our genre and we've read reviews. Step 4, we have edited, and now step 5, we are looking for beta readers. There's also something called alpha readers. Now, or even a little bit before you get to your editing, you can get alpha or beta readers. At this stage in the game, you're going to look for a beta reader. An alpha reader means that they are reading your book for all the things I mentioned, characterization, plot, basically their opinion of your book. But it's usually when you're in the rough manuscript pages. I like to do it when it's more finalized, the beta reading. And the beta readers, you can find those on Facebook groups. You can literally look up beta readers for romance novels, beta readers for thrillers, or just beta readers. Join a group. The proper etiquette in the writing world is to offer to beta read for someone if they're going to do it for you. So when I ask people to beta read from me, I give them how many pages I have so far, if I'm done, if I'm halfway done. So I'll say, 50,000 words on a psychological thriller. I might give them 2 or 3 sentences about what the book is about. And then I say I can also beta read up to 30,000 words for any thriller, suspense, mystery, crime fiction writers, because those are genres I'm familiar with, right? I don't want just anyone reading my book. I would prefer that they have a background in writing or reading my genre, and I'm going to do the same for them in return. So getting beta readers. Now, a note about that, family and friends. I know that if I give my husband my book, number 1, he's not going to read it. But number 2, he's going to tell me it's the best thing he's ever read in his entire life. If I give it to my mom, she's going to say the same thing. If I give it to most of my friends, they're going to say the same thing. If you have a friend that you think could be impartial and will give you an honest opinion, and they're super knowledgeable about your genre, all they do is read romance, and you're going to write a romance novel, that might be a good person to give it to. They could beta read for you. They can make comments on the side in pen, or if you give it to them in your Google Doc version, something like that, whatever works for you. But I would recommend somebody that is completely unbiased. When I first sent my books to beta readers, I cried. The response from some of them was so horrific, but it made me change. The first beta reader made me change a third of my book for the better. And I was so appreciative after I, wiped my tears and everything. But it really made a big difference. Some of the places that I've gone for these services, excuse me, is Fiverr.com. It's also an app. It's Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. Think of it as like a Yelp or a Google for really anything. But I found a lot of writing resources on there in terms of finding beta readers that were impartial at a really affordable cost. My cover designer, my editor, I found those all on Fiverr.com. The great thing is there's reviews for those people, so it's not like you're just choosing them blindly. They usually also will give you free samples of what they've already done, or for like editors, they'll give you up to 1,000 words free edit so you can see their style and to see if it's a match, because you really need to have good energy and synergy with your editor and certain people that you're working with. So again, you can even find a beta reader on Fiverr, on Facebook, sometimes reaching out on Instagram, You can ask people in your circle, but really think about who can give you not just honest advice, but well-informed advice, all right? You want someone that's an avid reader in the genre that you're writing, so again, they can communicate reader expectations. All right, step 5, we got all our final feedback, or we've gotten feedback along the way. Now we're gonna talk about cover design. I'm gonna do a whole video on cover design because it's a lot. Let me say hi to some of my peeps that are here. Hello, hello everyone. Let me know if you have a question as I go, or if you end up watching this on the recorded version, just reach out to me. You can private message me. You can do whatever works for you so that you can actually get a question answered. All right, I'm just checking in here with my people. All right, cover design has so many components. The number 1, 2, and 3 reason that third reason that someone picks out a book is the title, the cover, and the book blurb. I'll say it one more time. The top 3 reasons someone picks a book is the title, the design, the cover, and the book blurb. So every genre, again, knowing your genre, you can research this by literally Googling it. Cover design for a psychological thriller. What should a cover look like for a sci-fi novel? You can also go on Amazon, go to the best sellers of your genre, and you're going to notice certain patterns. Here are some patterns you're going to notice. All right, in my novel, 8 Words, you're going to notice a certain font style for everything on the front cover. You notice that, like, for example, my words here, 8 Words, is very, very crisp. There's clear edges. It's not blurred. It doesn't have special effects. That's because that's not for a psychological thriller book. You'll notice the colors are red, blue, green, and white. Other than that, the other color used in my genre is yellow. That means that on the cover, on the binding, and on the back, I'm only going to incorporate the colors of my genre. Again, every genre is different. Can you do your own thing? Can I make my cover orange with hot green on it? Sure. Do I want to try to set myself up for success and also attract readers that are used to a certain thing for my genre? Yes. So you're going to research what are the colors for your cover in terms of your genre, what fonts, they'll literally give you the name of the font styles. You're also going to look at images of the bestsellers too, right? And so in my genre, someone walking away from the cover or whatever they're walking away from is common. A close-up of the face, a side view of the face, very, very common. So in here, you can see that I chose to have an image of the person walking away, which everyone thinks this is me on the cover. It's not, but I did intend it to look like me because, as I said, it turned into fiction, but it started as autobiographical. On the back, you can see that I incorporate the same colors. On the front, you'll have a tagline sometimes, or if somebody's a best-selling author, they'll put on there best-selling author of, award winner of, New York Times bestseller. So if you have some kind of distinction that you can add to your book, sometimes somebody will release their first book, it'll blow up as a bestseller. They're going to release another edition where somewhere on the cover it's going to say a bestseller. I'm going to show you some other examples in a second. On the back, you have your book blurb. Your book blurb is the description of your book. In a hardcover, it's going to be on the inside jacket, right? And I'll show you some examples again in a second. Your book blurb is going to be harder to write, mark my words, than your entire book. Writing my book blurb made me nauseous and made me want to rip my hair out. I'm pretty sure I ripped my hair out many times. It is so stressful, but it is great, again, to join Facebook groups, to put it out to friends and family, and to look at the best sellers of your genre. Look at their book blurbs. You'll see it's a very common format. They're short, they're sweet. Once you read the book, make sure you look at book blurbs for books you've read. They do not give everything away. That was my mistake in book blurbs. I was giving everything away. So that's one thing you look at. Sometimes they end with a question or open with a question. You're going to notice all these patterns. Again, I'll do a separate video on that because I could talk about book blurbs for 1,000 years, but this is one of the top 3 things on your cover, and when I say cover, I mean the back as well, that's important. Your 3 things that are going to sell your book the most are your cover, the picture on it, the image, the title, and the book blurb. your book blurb is really, really hard, okay? So you're gonna get help with that. You're gonna review it and read it and amend it 800 times. It's harder to write those few paragraphs than the entire book itself. Your ISBN here, I'll talk about that in a second. On your cover, you'll also give credit to everyone that participated. So for example, mine says cover design by Rebecca Cover Design, edited by Teresa Arkenberg. I have the editor's website, and then I have author photo by Eric Santamaro, who's my husband. So you'll also have your author photo. You'll notice that a lot of author photos are in front of a bookcase or in nature. So you see mine is in nature here in front of a tree. And again, my image, blue dress, red lips, some greenery in the background. Again, following my theme of red, green, blue. I don't have yellow, but that's part of my genre. Let's see, what else am I missing here? Oh, the size of your author name. That's even important. So as a beginner author, you want to make your title bigger than your name. As authors get bigger, their name gets bigger and their image is less important. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. And your, let's see, copyright page on the inside. I'm just going to get a little bit into this. This is really a generic format. I'm including this in cover just briefly, but this is a generic format you're going to find online, and you just follow it. It's not really a big deal. I just wanted to mention it for a second because that's something that is really important in addition to this cover and the first page here. So let me show you some other books to just show you briefly again what I'm talking about. Harlan Coben also writes in the thriller genre. He is super, super famous. This is a book from the last few years when he's really established his career already. So you'll see that his name is huge. It's actually bigger than the title of the book, The Boy from the Woods. That's because he's made it, okay? He's there. Now, instead of a tagline, the way I had in my book, which is often a question or something to entice the reader, he has here #1 New York Times bestseller. So if you won an award, you're a bestseller. Obviously, if you made it on the New York Times list, you want to put that on your cover. So you can see the difference between his and mine, right? My title is a lot bigger than my name. His name is bigger than his title. I don't have a New York Times bestseller designation, and he does. So he's going to put that on there. You see his colors now. He is using yellow, predominantly yellow, because he is in the same genre as I am. Psychological thrillers. Sometimes he goes into like crime fiction. So he's using those colors. And now you see how simple his image is. It's just really trees. That's it. The bigger they are, the less of a cover they have in terms of imagery. All right. If you look at James Patterson, that's another good example. Here's a debut author finding Tessa in her hardback. This is by Jamie Lynn Hendricks. If you haven't read this is phenomenal. She is also in the same genre here. So you'll see her image is red and yellow, and it's a close-up picture of a face. Remember I told you in psychological thrillers, close-up of a face, somebody walking away. These are popular images. So she keeps to her genre. And then Chevy Stevens, her newest release, Dark Roads, just picked that up from the library. You see that her name now is at the very top instead of at the bottom or very small. She's super, super, super popular and awesome. She also here has New York Times best-selling author, and she mentions another one of her titles, which is also something people do. So like on my second book, His Prison, at the bottom or wherever, I can say author of 8 words, leading people to my first book. So you can see again, close-up image of a person, semi-looking away. Mine, the person's walking away. Hers, the person's turning away maybe. So again, popular in that genre. So cover is so, so important. Title, how it looks, what the title is, okay? Your book blurb, important. When you're thinking of a title, go on Amazon and see, does that title exist? You don't want the same title. Some people have very similar titles. Like if you think in my genre, there's so many titles with the word window in it, girl, the perfect something, husband, family, sister. Recently I read one, the perfect daughter. So you can follow those tropes as well, but you can come up with your own title. Just make sure there's not one that's exactly the same, or it pulls up something that's so different from what you're doing. You want something that's unique so that when people search it, it's going to go right to your book. All right, that's step 6, cover. You can again find someone on Fiverr.com, get some advice from other people around you, but this is something you want research-based. You can also throw it up on some groups on Facebook or Instagram, get people's opinions, see what they like or don't like, but this is really, really research-based. You can do your own thing. I can put a big picture of a flower if I wanted to in my favorite colors, but again, I want to set you up for success. We have 2 more steps. Step 7 is going to be pricing. You need to research where to price your book, and then you can see where people get greedy. So I priced my book at $9.99. The reason is I thought that was very reasonable. I'm a debut author. I don't expect you to go spend $20-something on a paperback. Usually $20-something is a hardback, right? Best-selling authors, New York Times bestsellers, they usually sell their hardbacks in my genre at about $23 or so, give or take a few dollars. Their paperbacks are usually around $14.95, $15.95, give or take. And so I thought $9.99 was good for me as a debut author. And secondly, there is a chart on Amazon in terms of what you will get as your royalty depending on how you price your book. For example, the range I believe is between $3.99 and $9.99. So you're going to get between 35% of your profit or 35% of your total cost or 70% of your total cost, but you got to subtract a few things. So you're going to subtract the cost of your book. So I believe my book off the top of my head was $2.94 to print. And so I would have to say my book is $9.99 minus the $2.94 that it's going to cost to print, which Amazon is going to print on demand for me. I don't have to set anything up. So my $9.99 minus my $2.94, and because I priced at that $9.99 or below, I'm going to get 70% of that profit left over. So it's like something like $5 with some change. So for every book, I'm making roughly $5, okay? So that's why some people will price, if it's somewhere around like I think $11, $12, $13, I'm going to be losing and making less because I'm in a different tier. So you really have to look at your tiers on Amazon. Just search pricing on Amazon, royalties on Amazon. You'll get all these charts that'll show you if you price it at X, you can put in your page count, the size of your book to subtract what does it cost to produce, and then you'll get your percentage put in there, like whether it's 35% or 70% of your profit, and then you'll get your number on what you're going to make per book. It's really important that you understand that, and it's really important that you price right. I have met debut authors, and I'm sorry if you're one of them, that price their paperback at like $30 online. And I'm like, listen, I love you and I'm going to buy it because you're my friend, but other people are not going to want to buy a $30 paperback, all right? So price it right and do your research. That is step 7. Now, step 8, you're going to load it to Amazon. You can load everything to Amazon yourself, or you can pay someone to do it. I found someone on Fiverr.com that I paid $40 to do all my formatting and load it to Amazon. It was such a relief for me. I didn't want to deal with it. So I gave her the image that my cover designer did for my book. I gave her well, in this case, my editor and the person that helped me with formatting were the same. So she already had my book file, but you would send them your cover design, you would send them your book file, you would send them a whole bunch of information, and they are going to create everything on your Amazon KDP page and formulate it so that you are ready to go. For me, this was so worth $40. You have to know how to make your cover a certain size based on how many pages you have in the book, based on the width of your binding. There's a lot to it. You want to make sure that when this prints, this looks good, okay? So for me, it was worth paying someone. If you're very tech savvy, great, give it a try. On Amazon, you'll have all these things about entering keywords and categories, and it takes you step by step. It does have a hotline that you can call for Kindle Direct Publishing. They're pretty helpful. They also have documents within Kindle Direct Publishing that'll help you. But for me, by the time I got to this point, $40 was more than worth it for me. You can expect to pay anywhere between $30 and $75 to have someone format it for you. I just thought this was great. So once I finish this and everything is submitted to Amazon, it's going to take 3 days, up to 3 days for Amazon to approve it. All right. Of course, they have to review it and make sure you're not doing anything salacious or putting some crazy nonsense on there. Once they approve it, you can now order your author copy. Your author copy is not going to be as finished, and it's also going to have this proof or this watermark here. On it, it just says not for resale. So this is your very first copy that you get. It's so exciting when you get it. You can see again, not as glossy, not as well finished as opposed to my final copy, which you'll be able to choose whether you have a matte finish, a glossy finish. I recommend glossy. It just looks more professional. You can see how this one looks, and it shows like the marks of the fingers and all that a lot more. But you finally get your author copy. This is a great time to now go through, look at maybe just real quick if there's a missing period, just see your overall format. What does it look like to have it in your hands? You can go back and make any changes at any time. I published this book 2 years ago. If I want to go back and make a change now, I can. As soon as I save that change, Amazon's going to take up to 3 days to approve it. It's never taken them 3 days. It's always taken them like just over 24 hours. And then every time someone chooses to buy it after, that print on demand option, Amazon's going to print it for me. It's going to ship it to the person for me. I don't even have to worry about it. They're going to give me my profits and deposit it into my bank. So they cut out that whole middle thing. But once I make a change and I can continually make changes, that next copy that prints is going to have those changes saved. Just make sure that it's not changing your formatting. You might add a word and now your, let's say this chapter 13 is going to start over here and have weird spacing. So when you make changes, be very, very careful. You can always go back to that person that is helping you edit. All right, and now you have your book published. So I hope this was informative for you. I know it's long and I know it's a lot. Remember, I didn't talk about marketing or how to write. I'm going to do different videos on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link here in a second. I'm going to save this video so you can watch it on YouTube. Maybe you already know the first few steps. If you want to skip it, you can instant message me questions here on Instagram. You can check me out on Facebook, Monique Santomaro Author. And if you want my notes on, not that look like this, but just typed and just gives you the steps overall, just send me a message and I'll be happy to send it to you as well. Just my rough notes and outline on this class. So just to review one more time, step 1, we formulated our idea. We got our group together, our support group. In step 2, we researched our book, our genre, if we have to research setting, something about the medical field, something about crimes, even how to kill someone. In step 2, we finish that. Now step 3, we sit down to write. We're understanding what program we want to use, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, Scrivener. We're actually writing now. We are writing notes, we're pantsing or we're plotting, doing outlines. Now in step 4, we are editing. We're going to reread our books, focusing on plot, characterization, and pacing. We want to make sure it stays interesting. The characters are all connecting. They're doing the right thing. There's dialogue. The plot flows. Everything makes sense. There's no dangling carrots. I'll make another video on the editing part in more detail. But you want to make sure you're spending time on what works for your novel and not what you're going to pay someone to do later. I know it sounds crazy, but how things are structured or the periods and the capital letters, you can do a little bit of that on your own, but really just focus on paying someone for that, 3 to 10 cents a word. Step 4, is editing. Step 5, we're looking for beta readers. We're looking for people's opinions on this, but we want to get qualified readers. We can go on groups, Facebook, Instagram, ask for beta readers, make an exchange. I'll read yours if you read mine. We can go on Fiverr.com, the app or the website, to get paid beta readers that are totally unbiased at a really affordable price. I've paid as low as $5 for someone to read a couple dozen pages, and it was super invaluable. Step 6, we're looking at our cover, we're looking at the title, the book blurb, and the image the most. Those are the top 3 things that sell a book: the title, the image, and the book blurb. Step 7, we're learning where to price our book. What tier will we be on? How much does it cost to print that book? Subtract those and you're going to get your royalty and what am I going to make per book. That will be deposited into your account every few weeks by Amazon. They'll always email you when it's available. And lastly, we're loading to Amazon. We can do it ourselves. We can also pay someone anywhere from $30 to $70 to do it. Again, check Fiverr.com. Even if someone is tech savvy, they need more than that. They need to know about the publishing world, because things like how many pages, the width of your binding, etc., that all matters when you're loading. You're getting your ISBN on there, you're getting your cover, you're getting your actual book document, which remember you have saved and emailed to yourself 5,000 times. It's going to be all this beautiful package. You'll get your first author copy. You're going to look it over one more time, make any changes you need, And then finally, you have your self-published book. So I hope today was valuable for you. If there's anything you want me to make a more detailed video on, let me know. Or if you just want to reach out with a specific question, I'd be happy to help you. I am not the best expert known to mankind, but I am the best note taker and student when it comes to taking these classes on self-publishing. And I'm very grateful to everyone that's ever shared any of their information with me. So thank you for watching this, and let me know if you guys have any questions, and I hope to see you again soon.